Eve Macarro of the Roska Roma. What a pleasure to see you again.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is everything you need to know before you watch John Wick, The Ballerina. Now, The Ballerina is reloading a brand new epic in the John Wick verse and shining a well-deserved spotlight on our favorite dog dad's adopted family, the Roska Roma. Now, while this movie is set to introduce us to a new hero in the Wick verse, we also know that Keanu Reeves is going to make an appearance, which is exciting, but also a bit complicated timeline-wise.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he die in the last movie?
Yeah, well, that's what they want us to think after Chapter 4, but this film actually takes place before that. The Ballerina is set between Chapters 3 and 4, when Wick is still very much alive and well. This film will introduce Eve Macarro, a trained ballerina assassin from the Roska Roma, which seems to have received some mentoring from our favorite dog-loving marksman.
Oh, I love dogs.
So, to fully understand all the moving pieces here, let's talk about everything that has happened thus far, starting with the Roska Roma. The Roska Roma are a group of nomadic Romani assassins disguised as ballet troupes that operate out of the Tarkovsky Theater in New York. They adopted John when he was young and raised him as one of their own. Now, this was quite a privilege since they hold a lot of power, as one of the 12 families who sit at the high table.
Why is it so important how tall the table is?
Well, it's not an actual table, Doug. The high table is actually the highest authority in the Wickverse. They dictate the rules and laws for all assassins in the world. 12 families have a seat at this exclusive table, and the Roska Roma is one of them. They took in John as an orphan, but don't let their compassion fool you. They are deadly. They are trained in both ballet to enhance their precision and grace as assassins, and in Sambo, a brutal Russian-Soviet martial art that emphasizes quick takedowns. Now, they are led by the director, who we met in Chapter 3 alongside the rest of the Tarkovsky Theater. She is both a mentor and a mother figure to John, and one of the few people he turns to when he's in a tight spot. She may seem cold and cruel, but her love for John runs deep. She is the only one to refer to John by his real name.
Giordani, why have you come home?
From the trailers, it looks like Wick may play a similar role for Eves, the new protagonist being introduced in The Ballerina. She even asks, "How can I be like you?" It's certainly an interesting time for him to take on an apprentice, given everything he's been through since Chapter 1. So let's walk through exactly where John Wick is at this point in his story, starting with Chapter 1.
All right, we're gonna recap John Wick again. Let me grab my suit.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, how do I look?
Aw, looking sharp, bud. Let's get to it. Now, after leaving his career as one of the most feared assassins in the world, John settles down with his wife, Helen, who tragically dies shortly after John's retirement due to a mysterious illness. Just before Helen passes, she leaves John a final gift, a puppy named Daisy, to help John cope with his grief. They quickly become close, but that is short-lived.
I got a bad feeling about this.
One day, as John is filling up his beloved '69 Ford Mustang Mach 1, a man named Yosef Tarasov pulls up and tries to buy the car from him. Now, John declines, and Yosef doesn't take kindly to being turned down, so he takes his crew to break into John's house, steal his car, and to kill Daisy.
It still hurts every time.
I know, Doug, me too. So John responds like any reasonable dog owner and goes on a brutal, trigger-happy quest for revenge.
Hey, so that's a pretty reasonable reaction, huh?
When Yosef's father, Vigo, finds out, he is not thrilled. He knows exactly how dangerous Wick is, referring to him by his nickname, the Baba Yaga.
We called him Baba Yaga. He was the one you sent to kill the boogeyman.
The Baba just say what now?
The Baba Yaga, essentially the Russian boogeyman from Slavic folklore. He reveals that John completed an impossible task for Vigo years ago, something that helped Vigo's criminal empire rise to the top by killing all of his enemies in one night. This task was so brutal, so legendary, that it earned John the fear and respect of everyone in the underworld. Terrified, Vigo sends hit squad after hit squad to take John out, but he simply does what he does best. Vigo realizes how much trouble he's in and places a $2 million bounty on John's head. He goes so far as to hire John's old mentor, Marcus, to take him out.
Is the contract exclusive? No, it's open. It's a timely matter. It has to be handled quickly.
But John checks into the Continental Hotel, an international chain of luxury hotels frequented by hitmen and powerful criminals.
So how does that stop him from getting sniped?
Because of the Continental's #1 rule. The hotel is neutral ground despite its hostile clientele. No business can be conducted on site.
No business can be conducted on these premises lest incurring heavy penalties.
This gives John a temporary sanctuary while he discusses his next move with Winston, the manager of the Continental. He is a major player in the Wickverse. Beyond just owning the Continental, he's one of John's closest friends and allies. He's also been seen in the trailers for the Ballerina talking to Eve as a child and introducing her to the Roska Roma. We know from Chapter 4 that Winston's connection to the Roska Roma runs deep, and he's even seen with the Roska Roma tattoo. So the Ballerina may further explore his connection. Winston is able to point John in the right direction. Now eventually, John forces one of Vigo's hitmen to give up the location of his son's safe house, where John finally finishes off Yosef for good. Now, of course, Vigo is not happy about that. He tries to get his revenge by taking out John's pal, Marcus, which leads John into an intense knife fight in the rain that ends with Vigo dead. And John walking away with his new rescue dog.
It's okay. Let's go.
All seems fine at the end of Chapter 1, but the next chapter picks up 4 days later. After John gets his car back from Vigo's brother, he gets a visit from his old friend Santonio D'Antonio. He calls John in on his marker, a blood oath that John made to him after helping John complete his impossible task.
No one gets out and comes back.
Santino wants to use the marker to force John to kill Santino's sister, Gianna, so that he can take her seat at the high table.
Tell me what you want.
I want you to kill my sister.
Now John doesn't have much of a choice. Even though he wants to stay out of the assassin game, the high table and the blood oath are powerful forces that he can't ignore. So John heads to Rome, infiltrates Gianna's coronation party, and confronts her.
John.
Gianna, however, chooses to end her life on her own terms, slitting her wrist to maintain control over her death. As John tries to leave, he runs into Cassian.
You working?
Yeah.
Another assassin who was hired to protect Gianna. Now this leads to an epic fight that rages on until both of them crash into the Continental in Rome, forcing them to honor the hotel's no-killing rule. Things only continue to escalate from here. To frame John, Santino puts a $7 million bounty on his head, which sends every assassin in the city after him. It is open season on John Wick. Everyone and their mother come after John, from street musicians to strangers on the street. But of course, he's John Wick, and he handles it with his usual cool demeanor, even showing them a little magic trick in the process. Now at this point, John is seriously injured, forcing him to seek help from the Bowery King, an underground crime lord who runs a network of homeless people in disguise.
Take me to him.
They treat John's wounds and provide him with the intel to track down Santino. And when Santino hears that John is coming for him, he retreats to the Continental. Santino then tells John that he plans to stay there indefinitely, thinking that'll keep him safe. But John publicly executes Santino right in the middle of the hotel lobby, despite Winston's warnings.
Jonathan, just walk away.
This changes everything for John. After the assassination, Winston meets John in Central Park to inform him that the high table has doubled his bounty to $14 million and that he is now excommunicado.
You leave me no choice but to declare you excommunicado.
Excommunicado what now?
Excommunicado, Doug. It is Latin for put out of the community. It means that John is no longer protected by the neutral ground of the Continental and loses access to many of its resources. No more medics, fancy cars, tailors, or sommeliers. He's completely cut off from the criminal underworld's amenities. Winston gives John 1 hour to get his affairs in order before the excommunication is official.
Then why am I not dead?
Because I deemed it not to be.
And that leads directly into Chapter 3, Parabellum, which is another Latin word meaning prepare for war. Winston actually clarifies precisely what it means later in the film.
See this packing. Parabellum.
Chapter 3 is also where we get our formal introduction to the Roska Roma. After being declared excommunicado, John is out of options, so like a frat boy straight out of college, he calls his family for help. He runs home to the Tarkovsky Theater, where he pleads with the director to give him safe passage to Casablanca in exchange for his ticket.
Person who looks like a crucifix to me.
Well, it is, but more importantly, it's a token proving his membership to the Roska Roma. By offering it in exchange for safe passage, he is cutting himself off from his family for life. The director, however, isn't entirely willing to help him at first, but like a mother, she eventually agrees, albeit at a high cost.
You're out of here.
Hi.
In doing so, she burns his ticket and brands him as a permanent sign of his excommunication from the family. Now that's a heartbreaking moment for John, but it's the only way she can help him without betraying the rules of their organization. It also ends up having huge consequences for the director as well. By assisting someone excommunicado, the director gains the attention of the adjudicator, an agent sent by the High Table to punish those who step out of line. As punishment for aiding John, she stabs the director through both of her hands, giving her a symbolic stigmata for her sacrifice.
I have served. I will be of service.
So the adjudicator then begins visiting anyone who has assisted John, including Winston and the Bowery King. They are all given 7 days to resign their positions or face further consequences. Everyone John knows is being forced to either choose between him or the High Table. Now John makes it to Casablanca, where he reunites with an old friend, Sophia, played by Halle Berry.
You a dog person, John?
Sophia?
He calls a marker to help John find the one who sits above the High Table, the Elder. After Sophia and John wreak havoc on someone who shot one of Sophia's dogs, they get the intel they need to find them before escaping to the desert, where John is finally able to meet with the Elder. So the Elder agrees to forgive John for his actions, but comes with a few conditions. He has to kill Winston, remain subservient to the High Table for the rest of his life, and cut off his finger as a pledge of loyalty. Now initially, John agrees, even cutting off his own finger to show his conviction. However, as soon as John meets up with Winston to seal the deal, he can't convince himself to follow through. He refuses to kill Winston and claims that he plans to remain at the hotel indefinitely, forcing the adjudicator to deconsecrate the premises.
7-9. The Continental Hotel, New York.
New designation?
Deconsecrated.
They're gonna take out all the concrete?
No, Doug, deconsecrate. It means the hotel is no longer neutral ground. It is now fair game for anyone and everyone. Winston, John, and Kayron defend the hotel in a massive gunfight. That eventually ends when the adjudicator requests a parley with John and Winston at the top of the Continental Hotel.
I would like to suggest a parley.
A parley would be good.
But the real twist comes when Winston, to regain his position as the manager of the Continental, shoots John off the roof.
The High Table accepts your fealty. But what about him? What are we going to do about John Wick?
Luckily, our boy survives and his body is brought to the Bowery King. The two decide to join forces, ready to take down the High Table. And that is where we left at the end of Chapter 3, with John on the run and excommunicated from both his family and the High Table. His appearance here comes with a lot of backstory and baggage. The fact that Eve is even talking to him in the trailer shows that she is willing to risk the High Table's wrath. That's quite the gamble in the Wickverse, so it'll be exciting to see how it all plays out. Now that's going to do it for this recap, but I want to hear what you think. Are you excited for the Ballerina? Any details we missed? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Threads, or on our free-to-join Discord server. You can also contact Dad Sides, who wrote this video. His links are below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.